Good morning, students. How are you all? I hope you all are well. So, in the last class, we have started with our chapter number 3, factors and multiples. I have explained in the two sessions that what are factors, how to determine the factors. In the last session, we have done determining the factors by multiplication. So, in the today's session, what we are going to do, we are going to learn like how to determine the factors using the division. Before going on, let us have a recapitulation so that previous concepts will be clear to you. Okay, let's have a look.
So students, in the last session what we have done, we have studied about the factors. If we define the factors in terms of multiplication, we can say that factors are the numbers you multiply together to get a product. For example, the product 24 have several factors like 24 is equals to 1 into 24, 24 is equals to 2 into 12, 24 is equals to 3 into 8, 24 is equals to 4 into 6. So the factors are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12 and 24. So this was the definition of factors in terms of multiplication. However, we have studied that the method of finding factors are two, that is we can determine the factors by multiplication and by division. Like for example, 3 into 7 is equal to 21 and 21 divided by 7 is equal to 3. So here factors are 3 and 7, which we have determined by multiplication and by division. Moreover, we have also studied about the steps of finding factors. For example, if we want to find the factors from multiplication, we have to follow the steps as first of all we have to start with 1, multiply the number, then try with 2, 3, 4, etc. When you repeat your factors, cross out the repeat, you are done at this point. And if you get doubles such as 4 into 4, then you are done. Repeats or doubles let you know that you are done. We have done this with the help of various examples. Let us take one more example to clarify your concept. What we have taken here, the number is 18. So first of all, just multiply 1 with 18, we get the factor as 1 and 18. Then move on to the table of 2. We found that the 18 comes into 9 times. So 2 into 9 is equals to 18. Then moving on to 3, we found that 3 into 6 is equals to 18. Moving on to 4, we found that 4 table doesn't have 18 in it, so we cross out this. Then after that, moving on to the table of 5, we found that 5 table doesn't have 18 also, so we also cross out this situation. Moving on to this table of 6, we found that 6 into 3 is equals to 18, which is same as 3 into 6. So thus we are done here. It means the factors of 18 are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9 and 18 itself. So with this method of multiplication, we can easily determine the factors of smaller number. But what about the larger numbers? How can you determine the factors of bigger number? Because you don't know the tables of bigger number as well. So don't worry, in this situation what we have to do, we have to determine the factor with the help of division. Yes. Now before going on, first of all let us remind the definition of factors in terms of division. We can define the factor as a factor of a number is an exact divisor of that number. That means the factor leaves remainder 0 when it divides the number. So it means that whole numbers have factors, and if the remainder comes out to be more than 0, it means 1, 2, 3, it means that is not the factor of that number. Now the question arises here is how to determine the factor using the method of division. For this we have to follow certain steps. First, likewise multiplication, start by listing 1 and the number itself. Second, divide the number by 2, 3, 4 and so on, and find all the factor until 0 comes in the remainder. Like you have to first of all divide with 2 the big number, 3 and etc. as a big number. To understand this, let us take an example. Here I am taking the example of 78. So according to the first step, obviously the first factor of 78 will be 1 itself, since ones divide every number. Now let us move on to the second number. Second number we have taken here is 2. So if we divide 78 with 2, we found that quotient is 39 and remainder is 0. Since the remainder comes out to be 0, so the two factors here are 2 and 39. Now let us divide the number 78 with another number, that is 3. So if we divide 78 with 3, we found the quotient as 26 and remainder is 0. So again we found the next two factors are 3 and 26. Moving on further, we divide the number 78 with 4, and after dividing the 78 with 4, we found that 9 4s are 36. So 19 will be the quotient and remainder will be the 2. Since the remainder is not 0, we say that 4 and 19 are not the factors of 78. Moving on to the 5, we found that again the remainder comes out not to be 0. So 5 is also not the factor of 78. Moving on to the number 6, we found that the quotient comes here 13 and the remainder comes here as 0. So 6 and 13 are the next factors of 78. Moving on to the next number, let us divide it with 7. We found that remainder comes here as 1 and quotient as 11 since remainder is not 0. So again 7 and 11 are not the factors of 78. Moving on further with 8, we found that remainder again comes here as 6. So 8 and 9 are not the factors of 78 because 8 9s are 72 and remainder is 6 again. Moving on to the next number, that is 10, we found that again if we divide 78 with 10, we found the remainder as 8. So 10 is also not the factor of 78. Moving on to 11, we found that if we divide 78 with 11, the remainder comes out to be 7. So 11 is not the factor of 78. Moving on to 12, we found that the remainder comes here as 6. So 12 is again not the factor of 78. Again if we move further, we found that 13 is here. Now if we divide 13 with 78, again 6 will come as quotient and remainder is 0, which we have already covered in the table of 6. It means that we are done with our division steps and now there will not be any more factors of 78. So this is the method of division, and by following this method of division, we found the factors of 78 comes out to be 1, 2, 3, 6, 13, 26, 39 and 78 itself. So this one is easier. Let us take another example of 16. So start with the table of 1. If we divide 16 with 1, we found the quotient comes out to be 16. So the first two factors are 1 and 16. Moving on to the table of 2, divided with 16, we found the quotient as 8, remainder as 0. So 2 and 8 are the next factors of 16. Moving on to the table of 3, we found that 3 doesn't divide 16. It leaves a remainder of 1. So 3 is not a factor of 16. Moving on to the table of 4, we found that 16 divided 4 comes out to be 4. So next remainder is 4. Moving on to the table of 5, 6 and 7, we found that they leave some remainder. The remainder is not 0. So again 5, 6 and 7 are not the factors of 16. Again if we talk about the 8, we found 16 divided by 8 is equals to 2, which is similar as that of 16 divided 2 is equals to 8. So we can stop our process here, and we found that the factors of 16 come out to be 1, 2, 4, 8 and 16. So these are the steps you can follow to determine the factors of 16. Let us take one more example. I am here taking the example of 24. So if we divide the 24 by following the method that I have told you earlier, like divide by 1, 2, 3 till the remainder comes 0, we found that the factor of 24 comes out to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 12 and 24. So this is the method of division. You can find more factors yourself by dividing themselves. Now what you have learned, you are able to find out the factors using the multiplication as well as using the division. Both the methods are simple, but you can use the multiplication method for smaller number and you can use the division method to find the factors of the larger numbers. Okay, so now what you have to do, you have to do the practice of the questions that I am giving you here. Here I am giving you the 5 questions. You have to now determine the factors of each one of them with the help of division as well as with the help of multiplication. Okay, so that the process will be clear to you. Steps are simple. You just have to start with 1 in multiplication and division both and have to move on with the numbers 2, 3, 4 so on until you will determine all the factors. Okay.
So students, this was all for today. I hope you now know what are factors and how to determine the factors using multiplication as well as division. Now what you have to do? As usual, you have to do a lot of practice so that all the concepts will be clear to you. Okay? Till then, keep practicing. See you tomorrow. Bye.